على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Alhamdulillah, we finished, we did the first chapter, the Tawheed al-Ubudiyyah. We understand the creed and the inner nature and the effects of the Aqidah on the system of life and look in depth on the meaning of the Ubudiyyah. And we came to the point to talk about the shirk. And where we left last time is in this drawing. We said, you remember this drawing, right? So it's kind of like here. This is the line that we say. Maybe I take another color. This is this line. This is the line who separate between divine and the creation. Well, that's the line. No one of the creation from here can have any attribute of the divine. Because those that makes the confusion and the corruption started there. So this is impossible in the concept of the creed and impossible in the way of Allah. Now, we have here, we said this is here, take it for example in another color. Okay. This here, we said is the creation, right? It's under the creation. The creation or the creation, it apply on them one criteria. So, this is the base of the creation. Right? How to get the highest in the level, the closeness to the divine, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only one criteria apply on the whole creation is piety, righteousness. That's what the meaning of it. So the more someone he is pious, the more he is climbing, is going up. And we said the highest position was achieved by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why in our faith, the best of the creation is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he is the best of the servant by achieving the highest point in this, let's say, pyramid, if you can call it, of the closest to Allah. So everyone here under that line who separate the divine with his creation is under the servitude to Allah. And you remember there's two types of servants, you remember, right? He said last time, there's two types of servants. So we have the servant qari and the servant that is by choice. The servant by nature and the servant by choice. So by nature, it is that everyone, he is the creation of Allah. He belongs to God. Everyone. That's thy nature. And we explain, give an example for example. No one can stop death, no one can choose his date of birth, no one can choose his parents. Those he's served by nature. He cannot stop, change the structure of his life by choosing different way to live. He need air, he need food, that is by nature, he's a servant of Allah. By his choice, how he lives his life. That's the choice. So he choose to be servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Choose to be, as we said here, servant of Allah. So here the servitude, everyone is servant of Allah. By nature. When he choose to be serving Allah, to submit to Allah, that's how he going to climb into this caves and get higher and higher ranks, closer to Allah, based on one criteria, which is righteousness. No color, no fame, no money. It is servitude to Allah like this. So the Prophet ﷺ, he is the best of the creation because he is the best servant, the best who righteous, the best who thanks Allah, and that's why Allah made it to be the role model. The role model. To be a model, to be a way, that's why his tradition It is the way to follow. Why? Because he achieved the balance, the perfect balance between the need of a human being and the characteristic of the emotion, of the feeling of a human being, the inner nature, and the worship. It's a whole full balance. That's why when he was described to be a walking Quran. The Quran is the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fully implemented in the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, when we said here the divine and here creation, the highest, the closest, the highest in this world or realm of servitude. Okay, the highest in this realm, let's call it the servitude, is called what is called the ubudiyya. Ubudiyya. Ubudiyya comes from abd, which is servant. Abd is servant, ubudiyya is the servitude to Allah. In this realm of ubudiyya, the highest is the best, and he's the best who serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, being the best to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give him any favor in a way to cross this line. So the best, if he crosses this line, he will have the wrath of God. That's it. Why? Because crossing this line, it is the corruption, it is the collapse of the whole system of the creation that Allah created. And crossing this line, that's his name, shirk. How someone will cross the line? There's everything that is specific and unique and exclusive for Allah, no one can share with him those attributes. If you're going to make a supplication, you are in need and to call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's exclusive for him. If someone calls someone because he's pious, he's righteous, he's a prophet, he's messenger, and call him, in his absence, supplicate to him, that is shirk. Why? Because the prophet being given the honor of prophethood to convey a message, but he doesn't have the capability to answer supplication, to change destiny, to create, to manage the functioning of the universe, to listen to those who are alive while he passed away. All that are attributes of Allah. He never dies. He's the all-hearing, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the all-seeing. The Prophet cannot have this characteristic. So even if someone will love his prophet to the point that he's the dearest to him, which is we required in our faith to love the Prophet ﷺ more than do love ourselves, because he's the role model who guides us to the pleasure of Allah. But this love needs to be contained into the servitude of Allah. Someone cannot see because the love, the extreme love that he had to the Prophet ﷺ, he will say, oh, the Prophet ﷺ, he's so close that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he granted him a place next to him by the throne. I said, no. This is an insult to the Prophet ﷺ. Because the honor of the Prophet ﷺ to be servant, not to have any attribute of the lordship. And thus is the full shirk. And this line is preserved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This line is the dearest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more than anything else. They will say, it's not the prophets that are the dearest to Allah. He said, yes. But if any prophet crossed this line, he's doomed. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this creation to be served, and He sent His prophet to communicate the greatness of Allah, to serve Him as the only one God. So if that prophet, he take any attribute of the lordship, so he really put defection in the whole system. It wasn't for any prophet. All the prophets from Adam to Noah to Ibrahim to Ishaq to Ismail to Yaqub, Yusuf, Musa, Harun, Dawood, Sulaiman, Ayyub, all of them. The Prophet ﷺ, no one of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, that's an opportunity for us to go. What I told you, we'll see it in the Quran. And then we're going to have a whole section going through the ayat to understand this element that we are talking about from the Quran. From the Quran. To help us to interact with the book of Allah and to understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is communicating and how big it is. When we say shirk, because many people they say, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives everything except shirk. Why? That's what we try to understand. Allah forgives everything except the shirk, which is to associate partner with Him. And not only to associate partner with Him, the shirk is to intervene or to infiltrate in the system of the creation to be managed other than with the system of Allah. I will explain it. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ameur, آية 17 ما كان لبشر أن يؤتيه الله الكتاب والحكم والنبوة ثم يقول للناس كونوا عبادا لي من دون الله. It's not possible for any human being to whom Allah has given the book and the knowledge and the wisdom and prophethood to say to the people, be my worshipper rather than Allah. It's impossible. ما كان. But on the contrary, everyone he should say, be your ربانيون, learned men of religion, etc. ولكن كونوا ربانيون بما كنتم تعلمون الكتاب وبما كنتم تدرسون, as you read it in the translation. It is impossible. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, in Christianity, they say that Isa alayhi salam, who is a noble and honored messenger of Allah. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about him. We are in Surah Al-Ameur. Now, when Allah told us about Maryam, look, this is what the angel they said to Mary. This is Zechariah. Remember when the angel said, "O Mary, verily Allah gives you the glad tidings of a word," and he was Isa alayhi salam. Glad tidings of a word from him. His name will be Christ Jesus, the Son of Mary, held in honor in the world and the hereafter, and of the company of those nearest to Allah. So the nearest of Allah in the pyramid, those who highest the level, that Isa alayhi salam cannot cross. He should speak to the people in childhood and in maturity, and he should be of the righteous. That's the status of Isa. Now, in the day of judgment, the people who said that he is the Son of God, Allah Himself is going to ask Isa. Why He ask him? Because everybody is claiming, and we want to hear Jesus Himself what He said. Look what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said. Ayah 116. And behold, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said, قال يا عيسى ابن مريم أنت قلت للناس اتخذوني وأمي إلهين من دون الله. O Jesus, the Son of Mary, did you say unto men, worship me and my mother as gods in derogation of Allah? He will say. Now, by the way, in the translation they say He will, but in the Quran He didn't say He will. He said He says. Because when the Quran speaks, is the words of Allah, He speaks in present. وَإِذْ قَالَ, behold, Allah said, so it's like you watching exactly the scene, how it's happening. Allah talking to Isa, the way that fits His greatness and majesty. And Isa in this day of judgment, He's answering. Look what He said. Glory to you, never could I say what I had no right to say. Had I said such a thing, you would indeed have known it. You know what in my heart, and you know not what He did. And I do not know what He knew. You know in full of that hidden. قال تعلم ما في نفسي ولا أعلم ما في نفسك إنك أنت علام الغيوب. What did I tell them? Look, Isa alayhi salam. What Isa alayhi salam is telling really, it goes with the real faith, with the real creed, with the system of the whole creation, that the servitude is to serve Allah and the best among them who show righteousness. That's what Isa is answering. قال ما قلت لهم إلا ما أمرتني به. Never said to them aught except what you did command me to say. That's it, the servitude is to obey Allah. I'm going to show you another ayah. What Isa said alayhi salam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be asked the same question. Because people are going to say, oh, the Prophet said, he told us. He will ask the Prophet, did you say this? He said, the Prophet in the hadith, and I will say like the righteous man, my brother Isa. He will say. So the obedience is the core of the servitude. If somebody is disobedient, he broke the whole system. So قال ما قلت لهم إلا ما أمرتني به. I only told them only what you have commanded me, Ya Allah, to say to them. What you commanded me to say? Worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. Worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. U'budullah. So worship is u'budu. U'budu is to become abd, is ubudi. That's what Isa. قال ما قلت لهم قال بي أن اعبدوا الله ربي وربكم وكنت شهيدا عليهم ما دمت فيه. And this is the limit of the human being. I was witness over them while I dwell among them. So after he didn't know what happened, قال, and when you did take me up, and you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took up Isa alayhi salam to come back in the end of the time. قال فلما توفيتني كنت أنت الرقيب علي. When you took me up, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you were the watcher. So I didn't know. This is the beautiful saying and wise and deep of a great messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now look what he said. قال إن تعذبهم فإنهم عبادك. If you're going to punish them, they are your servant. This is the servant because they belong to you. This is Allah, you are the judge. وَإِن تَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ. And if you want to forgive them, you are the exalted in power below. And look, Isa here, subhanallah, one of the scholar, rahimahullah ta'ala, Ibn Qayyim, he made a very long comment in this particular ayah. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Isa, because of his great knowledge of Allah and of the system of belief, he didn't say you are the oft forgiven, most merciful. He said, and if you forgive them, you are indeed the most merciful, the oft forgiven. He said, no, he didn't say. He said, you are the Almighty, the All-Wise. And this is a great evidence of the great knowledge of Isa alayhi salam. Because we are in the day of judgment here. If someone did wrong, at that time, he will not inquire the mercy and the forgiveness for a servant. Allah will forgive whom He wants. But Isa alayhi salam, he said here, Al-Azizu, if you're going to forgive, not because you are scared, or you have like plans maybe they can do, Al-Azizu is the Almighty. And if you're going to do such a thing because of a wisdom that no one knows, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered, قال هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين. This is the day which truthful will profit from their truth. We'll go back to, I'll give you an ayah about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The same thing. The same that applied to Jesus, applied to Ibrahim, applied to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here in this ayah, ayah 73, وَإِن كَادُوا لَيَفْتِنُونَكَ عَنِ الَّذِي أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ لِتَفْتَرِيَ عَلَيْنَا غَيْرَهُ وَإِذًا لَاتَّخَذُوكَ خَلِيلًا. They were about to tempt you away in order to change some of the revelation that been revealed to you. I mean, make something to please them. It's like, give us something at least that we help us to follow you. Substitute in our name something quite different. Just maybe to give them a special status than others. You, the leader of Quraysh, you will be the leaders, to the end of time. Things like that anything that it fulfills their whims as an excuse to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قال وَإِذًا لَاتَّخَذُوكَ خَلِيلًا. If you do such a thing, they're going to be very close friends to you. وَلَوْلَا أَن ثَبَّتْنَاكَ لَقَدْ كِدْتَ تَرْكَنُ إِلَيْهِمْ شَيْئًا قَلِيلًا. And had we not given you strength, you would nearly have inclined to them a little. Okay? Are we talking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This is the reality of the ubudiyyah. That everyone has weakness, subhanAllah. So he's saying the Prophet ﷺ, his eagerness for everyone to come to the way of Islam. And those people of Quraysh at that time, especially the arrogant and the leader among them, they were very stubborn. And the Prophet ﷺ was trying so hard with them. And the argumentation he trying so hard, they tried to tempt him without seeing that, because trying to, convince them, come to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they ask him things just to, now they're not telling him to chant the Quran. They ask him things is like to be, it's like in a bargain, someone he's making musawama, bargain a price. He said, okay, if you give me this, I will do this deal for you. So will be someone he's like very excited to do such a thing. So in his mind is not to change the whole deed. So the Prophet ﷺ never thought or never someone told him to change the way of Allah or the words of Allah, but to give a guarantee that he doesn't have the right to give. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we had make you to give you more strength to stand. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't want people who submit with him with their body. He wants the submission to come from the heart. Now, the part which is really coming to as example or as a witness and evidence of what we are talking about. قال إذا لأذقناك ضعف الحياة وضعف الممات. In that case, we should have made you taste an equal portion of punishment in this life and an equal portion in death. Taste you an equal, like the same in this life and in the death, but it will be the double of everyone else's punishment. He's talking about who? About the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, this action is crossing that line that we were talking about. We're talking about the dearest to Allah. If he will change or give a guarantee that he doesn't have the right to give, or say anything that he doesn't have the right to say, he will be afflicted this type of punishment. Another ayah, in Surah Az-Zumar, Surah 39. They are trying to, as the Prophet and the companion calling people to Islam, the other they calling to their way. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ أَفَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ تَأْمُرُونِّي أَعْبُدُ أَيُّهَا الْجَاهِلُونَ. Say, Muhammad, is it someone other than Allah that you order me to worship? You ignorant ones. It's really pure ignorance. Now look the reminder here, the evidence what we need to read, number 65. قَالَ وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. And it has already been revealed to you, and it was to those before you, or the Prophet before you. If you want to join gods with Allah, truly fruitless will be your work. And the other one, he said, if you join other in worship with Allah, surely your deeds will be in vain. Everything will go away. All the good deeds, they will not be counted. Why? Because you join with Allah another God. لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ وَلَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ وَلَتَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And you will certainly be among the losers. But nay, worship Allah and be of those who are grateful. Another ayah is in Surah Al-Haqqah 69. Allah talking about the Quran, He said, it's not the word of a poet, literally you believe, nor in the word of a soothsayer, little admonition it is you receive. It is the revelation from the God of the world. Ayah 43. تنزيل من رب العالمين. Sent down from the Lord of the world. وَلَوْ تَقَوَّلَ عَلَيْنَا بَعْضَ الْأَقَوِيلِ. And if the messenger were to invent any sayings in our name, لَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُ بِالْيَمِينِ. We should certainly seize him by his right hand. ثُمَّ لَقَطَعْنَا مِنْهُ الْوَتِينَ. And we should certainly then cut off the artery of his heart. It's a big punishment. I'm talking about the Prophet ﷺ, the one we know. And none of you could withhold us from punishing him. And one time I was asked about the question, this is honoring the Prophet ﷺ. We see it like it's a threat. It is a threat for someone who never do it and never had done it or never thought to do it. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So when someone he knows himself, which means this is directed to us, not to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Is that what the Prophet ﷺ, he said about his daughter? He said, by Allah, if Fatima, my daughter, will steal, I will execute the law of punishment of Allah on her. But he knows that Fatima will never do that. So it's addressed to the people, not to Fatima. But Fatima should feel confident that her father include her in such a thing to see the justice of her father, and be just with people. And the same thing, the love for her father to her, because he educated her and he helped her to be on that status, to never think about such a thing. If you think of Allah and to Allah is the best of the example, that's how he's talking about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's for us. And the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sees such a thing as an honor, because he will never do that. And that's why he's making sujood, prostrating to Allah, to help him always be grateful. Because that's the biggest gift, to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is, as you see, in the ayah, Surah 69. This is the impact and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about crossing this line that we mentioned. So anyone who claim to himself or to anyone else an attribute from the divine is the biggest corruption, is the biggest injustice. Given an example of this injustice. People here, the divine is here, and someone here. People are calling this one, making dua, calling, supplicating, this creation. Okay? You can call it, saint, or any type of other names. Now, look the impact on the caller, on the self. This person, when he is calling, he's never heard, because this one cannot hear him, cannot answer him. He doesn't see anything in his life. So what he's going to be filled? He's going to be filled with despair, hopeless, anxiety, deception. There is nothing when he calls. It's all confusion. Why continue to call this person? Now, if we put it here, the person that he's calling, which is a high level, which is like he's a prophet, like Isa alayhi salam, say Jesus. Isa alayhi salam, anyone who calls him, he cannot hear. He cannot listen. So it's really someone, an injustice that he's doing to himself. Feeling that anxiety, confusion inside the depths of the self. Is why? Because the one he's calling cannot answer him, cannot listen to him. Allah gives us an example in the Quran about that, in Surah Al-Ra'd. This ayah number 14. To Allah belong, for Him alone is the prayer in truth. He's the one who listens. He's the one who sees everything. he knows everything about us. And he was in time of Adam and in time of Noah. He's the one who protected Noah. He's the one who protected Ibrahim from the fire. He's the one who protected Joseph in the well. He's the one who protected Musa against Pharaoh. He's the one who protected the Prophet ﷺ in the cave. And he's the one who protecting you today. So that's why lahu da'watul haqq, for him alone is the word of the truth. Any other than him, and those who call beside him, لا يستجيبون لهم بشيء. They call upon beside him, they no more than if they were, they said, none had the right to be worshipped by him. And those whom they invoke, answer them no more. They cannot. It's impossible to answer them. And Allah gives us a parable. Parable like a picture, an image in our mind, to be like a vivid image, to know the meaning of it. So this parable, he said, قَالَ لَا يَسْتَجِيبُونَ لَهُمْ بِشَيْءٍ. They cannot answer anything to them. It's like the parable of someone, he's seeing the water in front of him. He's by a spring of water, and he wants to drink. But how he wants to drink? He's stretching his hand to the water, or he's at the river, and he wants to drink. What he's doing, the water is here, and he's blocking himself by his hand, and he wants to drink. It's absurd, right? Weird, contradictory. And it is injustice. The water is in front of you, and someone is trying like to, even the image, when you think about it, is also image, if you can say, is like funny to see someone say, what happened to this person? Now he's like this and he wants to get to the water. Say, just move your hand. That's his Islam. His Islam is like this barrier that you put it in front of yourself. Just remove that barrier, you find yourself with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, كَبَاسِطِ كَفَّيْهِ إِلَى الْمَاءِ لِيَبْلُغَ فَاهِ. It's like someone stretching forth their hands for water to reach with his mouth. But it reaches them not. He cannot get it. So you see, it's a very contradictory, awkward situation, image. That's how those who call on other than Allah. The water is in your hand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching. He's the one who's taking care of you in everything. And you're calling someone else. إلا كباسط كفيه إلى الماء ليبلغ فاه وما هو ببالغه وما دعاء الكافرين إلا في ضلال. سبحان الله. Faith is not قال وما دعاء الكافرين إلا في ضلال. And the invocation of the disbeliever is nothing but an error. And ضلال, it is error, but it has another meaning. ضلال. ضلال is like lost. ضل, he lost his way. So when someone makes a sincere supplication to the one he worshipped, it came with strength and sincerity, but in the way it lost. Why? Because it doesn't have any destination. The one who call upon, he doesn't know that that person exists. Now we're talking about the Prophet, the noble Prophet. Even someone calling now the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. With people there, some people created the thing. Well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam cannot listen to you. He said, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you greet him, he greets you back. He said, yes, there's angel they take to him. It's by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam cannot have the attribute of Allah, or Jesus, or Moses, nobody. The other ayah in Surah Al-Ahqaf, وَمَنْ أَضَلُّ مِمَّنْ يَدْعُو مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ مَنْ لَا يَسْتَجِيبُ لَهُ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. And who is more straight than the one who invokes besides Allah, such as will not answer him to the day of judgment, and who in fact are unconscious of their call. Now I always give the example of someone, for example, he's in, trapped in the forest, in a very big storm, and he trying to find a refuge. He find this place locked, and he has a hope that someone inside, so he knocking, waiting for an answer, but no one came to his hand. If you think of the feeling of this person, the hope he has for the door to be open for him, all those dreams that he built in his mind based on the hope to be open to him, to find the warm clothes, to find the food, to find, is like solution for all his distress, all his misery. He's cold, starving, almost dying, and he keep knocking on the door. Those dreams, subhanAllah, they are vanishing. The more he knocking, there's no answer, till he loses hope. That's exactly this ayah. And who are even unaware of their cause, they don't even know. Actually, there's nobody there to listen. Or maybe the owner of that place, he already passed away. So this is the injustice that someone making for himself by calling other than Allah, by associating a partner to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because now those who called beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will not be accountable of what people are doing in their name. As we mentioned, that's Isa what he said. But Allah mentioned to us in another surah, which is in Surah Al-Isra, He said subhanahu wa ta'ala about those who ask like Isa and all the noble prophets. He said in Surah Al-Isra, he said in 56, قُلِ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُم مِّن دُونِهِ فَلَا يَمْلِكُونَ كَشْفَ الضُّرِّ عَنْكُمْ وَلَا تَحْوِيلًا. Say, call upon those besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have neither the power to remove your troubles nor to change them. They cannot. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ. Now those who are calling, they were true in faith. Whom they call upon do desire means of access to their Lord. So you call on someone to help you. Himself, he was submitting to Allah and seeking the pleasure of Allah. Why you want? I mean, the one you're calling, instead of going in his footsteps, Isa was honored by being servant of Allah. So be servant of Allah to be honored. Be servant of Allah to have your problem solved. Not to call him to help you. It's like you make distortion in the whole system. أولئك الذين يدعون يبتغون إلى ربهم الوسيلة أيهم أقرب ويرجون رحمته ويخافون عذابه. They seek him, his pleasure, and they fear his punishment. That is the balance of the servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this is for individual associating. We took the example of calling other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another example of the shirk to understand the injustice of it. This is the creation Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator, when He created, let me do it in another way. Everything He created, He created and plus guided by the same thing. Created plus guided. Everything. All the worlds. The world of, this is, for example, this is the world of humans, the world of object, the world of plants, the world of animals. Everything. Created by Allah and guided. The guidance here is the inspiration, the instinct, the inner nature in every being to lead his life. You see the animal how they live. They didn't get any training before, they birth to how to do things. That's the guidance that Allah set in every being. So we have creation plus guidance. This is for the creation, right? Creation plus guidance. Now, we have the system which, or within the whole creation is taking place, or they living their life, which is, let's say, the universe. We call it the universe. So the way the universe is functioning is allowing, by the will of Allah, for the creation to survive. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the whole, for example, is the universe is this size, the earth is 1,000 or 1 million, less than this dot. Okay. Right? If you take, you look at the universe and all what they have, for example, now information and the cosmos and the solar system and how far, 300 million light years, is something that you cannot even imagine and conceive. It's so big. Now, in this whole universe, there's no life outside, and they're trying to find any. There's the condition of a life for a creation to survive is on this planet Earth. Wow. Which is mean, what is said in this planet by the will of Allah to have the creation guided with the instinct set by Allah in their inner nature to go through time, for a certain life to fulfill a mission. So it's like the earth is the land or the place of where the test is going to be taking place. Everything comes from Allah. So, air, rain, sustenance, everything is from Allah. The system that is inside us is set by who? By Allah. Do you need to charge ourselves in some kind of device to our recharge is the sleep, right? Auto recharge, mashallah. Who's doing that? Allah. What do you want, step by step? I will go back to the Quran to give you an ayah, just to see how Allah reminds us this. I will go in Surah Al-Hijr, for example, an example in Surah Al-Hijr. قال, now, وَلَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا فِي السَّمَاءِ بُرُوجًا, and it's who has set جعل food. So in this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell you how He did this for you. So it's not random. It's not like randomly the earth has the air and has the water and has things. No. Because why it didn't happen in the other planets? They tell you no, because the ice came here and Big Bang and things. And they try always to find a way. And there's a million of, maybe into the analysis which is make it impossible. Except that there's one who did it, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have put the big stars in the heaven and we beautified it for the beholders. وَزَيَّنَّاهَا لِلنَّاظِرِينَ. Subhanallah, those who are being watching and things. So it's like the sky, this, how many people they enjoy when they are in the open air to look at the stars. Well, that's if you remember that Allah did that for you to enjoy it. Subhanallah. وَحَفَظْنَاهَا مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْطَانٍ رَجِيمٍ إِلَّا مَنْ اسْتَرَقَ السَّمْعَ فَأَتْبَعَهُ شِهَابٌ مُبِينٌ. This is things of belief that we know about, but I wanted to read the number 19. قال والأرض مددناها وألقينا فيها رواسي وأنبتنا فيها من كل شيء موزون. And the earth we spread out and placed therein firm mountains and caused to grow therein all kinds of things in due proportion. Everything. موزون. So because Allah had the power, for example, to have the wheat to be abundant fill the whole earth. Or they place everything went into the proportion. So how the proportion increase and decrease? I'm going to tell you. وَجَعَلْنَا لَكُمْ فِيهَا مَعَايِشَ وَمَنْ لَسْتُمْ لَهُ بِرَازِقِينَ. And we have provided therein means of living for you and for those whom you provide not for you and for any other creature that you are not responsible to feed. Allah is feeding them. All the animals, Allah is taking care of them. Now, وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا عِنْدَنَا خَزَائِنُهُ. And there's no thing, but we, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have the stores thereof. Allah has the stores of everything. That's why sometimes if you want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sustenance, Allah has the power to give it to you. Because He has it. But if He doesn't give it to you, what does it mean? So it means that it's not good for you. وَمَا نُنَزِّلُهُ إِلَّا بِقَدْرٍ مَعْلُوكَ. And we send it not down except in a known measure. Known measure. Everything is in a known measure, in a due measure. وَأَرْسَلْنَا الرِّيَاحَ لَوَاقِعَ. And we send the winds fertilizing. Then causes the water to descend from the sky and we give it to you to drink. And it is not you who are the owner of its storage. And you're not those who are storing the water under the earth. Who's storing it? Allah. So all of this is a system prepared for the human being to lead their life. When I said that measure, talking about the measure, the due measure, everything. This is the conclusion of this ayah. Everything that Allah sustains things, the creation guidance and the field or the dimension when they live is all prepared by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To come to one conclusion, that this system, its well-being depends on one thing. It depends on the righteousness of humankind. Those due measures that we're talking about, that right proportion, it increases with righteousness and decreases with evil doing. With the righteousness of who? Of the humankind. So the servitude to Allah require to be implemented by the righteousness of the action, of the doing, of the dealing, of the building. And this righteousness which will guarantee the well-being of the whole universe. Dealing with no righteousness, that is the shirk. When you spread evil, that is shirk. That associating partner with Allah. How we associate partner with Allah? We have intervened the whims of someone's thoughts to apply it as a system of action instead of the way of God. Then what happened? What happened is things that will not find their harmony within the universe. Why? Because only what makes them all function is the way of Allah. If you intervene something inside, then you put like a virus inside the system. And this is going to cause to corrupt itself. And I give you the ayah, it will explain to you this. And then we take an example. Inshallah, we do it at the start. This ayah is in Surah Ar-Rum, Surah number 30. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us. Telling us in ayah number 41. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Mischief has appeared on land and sea because of the need or of the doing of the hand of man. And he said the other one, has appeared on land and sea because of what the hands of man have earned by oppression and evil doing. That Allah may make them taste a part of that which they have done, in order that they may return by repenting to Allah and begging His pardon. Inshallah, we'll resume after the salah. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Everything is set perfect. All the creation is perfect. SubhanAllah, just an ayah in the Quran. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, to see the perfection of the creation. Everything is working. It doesn't need any maintenance or any review of the system. Everything is working according to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Mulk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, look what He said. Allah created death and life to test you which of you is best indeed. So this is the test. This is why we are here. And test you is not like a test that we see in it. Test is to, in a way, to shower you with His mercy, because He gave you everything. The one who created the seven heaven, one above another. Now look, you can see no fault in the creation of the most beneficent. And then there's people who don't want to believe. He said, then look again, can you see any fault, any flaw? Now the amazing way of the eloquency of the Quran. قال ثم ارجع البصر كرتين. Then look again and yet again. SubhanAllah. The continuation of the ayah is amazing. Now, someone who is disbeliever wants to find any flaw in the creation of Allah. He said, look again and again and again. It's like your sight itself is going to come back to you. You're going to tell you, are you not going to stop now? Are you not going to submit? Look, he said, your eyes themselves, they come back to you, they say, will return to you in a state of humiliation and worn out. Submit to Allah. So everything, subhanAllah, Allah created, perfect, in full accuracy and precision. This full accuracy and precision is also set in the constitution that Allah revealed to us. As you see the system of the universe around us, how it's working, the same thing, the revelation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down in the Quran, it will serve to help humankind achieve the well-being in full accuracy and precision, if we just submit. Well, so we have the whole universe. Everything is accurate and precise in the creation. We have the human being here. Human being. Entitled to preserve this precision and accuracy for the system to work and to be healthy. This human being, what they're gonna use? They're gonna use the constitution of Allah. Today it is the Quran. So the tool of the human being to keep the health of the system of the universe is to apply the book of Allah. It's like the human being, he's the doctor. The Quran is the medication. When they inject it in the whole system, it will be healthy and strong and strong. Now, the human being, they're gonna use another thing to inject it in the system. What happened to the system? When you inject in a system something that he cannot accept, he's going to reject it. And he cannot reject it because he cannot fight it, keep injecting. He's going to be ill, right? So what will be the illness on the system when someone, for example, he has problem with his skin? You're not going to see like soft skin, you're going to see like bumps and a lot of things, right? So in the system of the universe, when being injected in it, things that it cannot help him to work. The signs of the disease are the mischief on earth, the injustice. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Rum that we were discussing. So the disease that you see are represented in the earth by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, mischief, injustice, corruption. You see the pollution, you see the famine, all what happened, the starvation of people, all of it, mischief that's been done by human being, but what they injected inside the system of this universe. Here what Allah, the ayah that He said, قَالَ ظَهَرَ, and ظَهَرَ, the ayah that you said 42, yes, 41. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر. Look, evil has appeared on land and sea, which is mean appeared, so it didn't exist. Now everything was perfect, was precise. Remember the drawing there. Everything was working fine. Now we start to see disease, which is mischief. Where in the land and in the sea. The spill that happened in the sea and the animals and the fish, all that, subhanAllah, who did it? The hand of man. And I said, this was that. Has it on sea because of what the hands of man have earned. Okay. The hand of men have earned by oppression and evil doing. Now look the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. More people when they see calamities and things, they always like saying God, He's this and He's ignoring us, and people they forget about God. They're talking about nature, nature be merciful to us, and their nature is this and this. Now the facade that happened that we see is causing defect in the system, which system by its nature is going to reject things, right? That rejection is going to come into calamities, into catastrophes. What you see like earthquakes, tsunamis, things are happening because of what people they do. Now those rejection of the system made by the will of Allah are not fitting the size of the evil doing, which is mean. All what's happening, you see calamities in the earth representing maybe 1% of what should be happening. So if it's 1%, why it's not 100%? Because 100% it will be extermination of the human race. Now 1%, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only 1%? Keep it in 1 or maybe less than 1%. It's in the ayah. Now ظهر الفساد في البر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. This is going to happen because of the people, and for the people to taste some of the punishment, some of the pain, due to what they did. And Allah wants, through what they did, they will maybe be reminded to come back to Him. Here's what He said. In order that they may return by repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because, and this is a rahmah of Allah, so the calamities, it is a reminder, and we'll explain it inshaAllah when we come to the divine will and predestination. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said what He said in Surah Al-Kahf, and He said it in many other ayahs. Just to see read ayah 58. وَرَبُّكَ الْغَفُورُ ذُو الرَّحْمَةِ, and your Lord is most forgiving, owner of mercy. Were He to call them to account for what they have earned, then surely He would have hastened their punishment. That's it. So this is to show you that the problem we see, the mischief, the calamities befalling on the humankind today, it's a very, very, small part of what people do. Because if Allah is saying in this ayah, were He to call them to account to what they have earned, then the life will stop now. That's it. لَعَجَّلَ لَهُمُ الْعَذَابَ. Why? Because He is the most merciful, the all forgiving. He gives them more time. But they will have a maw'ad, an appointment that everyone is coming back to. Now if you take an example that injected in the system and how it destroyed the barakah from the world. We take the example. All of us know. This is the universe as accurate and precise as Allah created. This is the life coming from the revelation, which is the way of Allah, is the book, the Quran, which is the revelation. So this is what has helped the whole system to work according to the way of Allah. And we give the example earlier to say doctors and injection. Let's say here also is like the Quran, the key, and the universe is the lock. And the humankind who have the mission, they need to use the right key to unlock the whole good that Allah offering into this universe and in the hereafter. Now if we inject another system, this system is based on this system is based on money. How are you gonna see how this shirk based on money? Now, when it's based on money, the objective, the purpose of life is gonna be increase profits, right? When it's based on money. When the objective of people and their purpose is to increase the profit, how they going to do act, how the action is going to be. It's going to be competition in increasing the money. So the action as is be competition in the increasing this money is going to have the absence of values and virtues and moral. Those values, all of them, they're going to disappear from the system. Why? Because when someone wants money, he will kill his father for the money. And there's many stories, right? His close friend is going to be his enemy because of that. And the money is an example, but the world of the today, you have the system of money, and another one killer is the power. And subhanAllah, in history they went together, power and money. So, how people are seen in this system? It is the important, is the most righteous. The most righteous is the one who's very neglected person. He cannot be a teacher in this system. Who's the teacher here? Who give you the shortcuts how to make more money. So the teacher here, someone who might have no moral. So someone, if we want to learn from this person, he needs to go to places where evil things are doing. Why? Because that's where they put their stuff. And someone, he's looking at these people, are they famous, and they are his role model. Why? Because they had a lot of money. That's why they have magazine, the highest fortune in the world, and people, they read them, they wish to be like this person. So the purpose of life change, the motivation change, the action change, everything will be working against the whole system. No modesty, no helping the needy. The distribution of the revenue is based not on a social justice, but is based on who has more money. So here the system is fully corrupted. So when you find, for example, people are starving in the system, it is because they didn't work enough to make money, or because the system who caused this starvation. Why? Because, for example, to maintain one level of a price to be competitive in the market, they are willing to destroy a big part of production and dump it to the sea. But they cannot give it to the poor people in Africa who are starving and dying. Why? Because it's going to put defect in their system. Why? Because he's going to compromise or contradict this objective that he has. This year they need to make this increase of profit. So they need to maintain this price. So they need to do this action of mission. There's someone who's dying there. I mean, why? They need to work and make their way. وَإِذَا قِيلَ الَّذِينَ وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قالوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه. One is told to them, spend in the sake of Allah, help the needy who doesn't have food. What they say? The disbeliever. They say, well, you want us to feed those who God should have fed, or God that He's supposed to feed. Why you want us to feed? Well, actually, you were the virus in the system to hold the blessing of God to touch these people. This is shirk. This is shirk. This is one of the meaning of associating partner with Allah. So shirk, it's not for those people to be in a temple and having an idol and prostrating to it. You said they're committing shirk. Or for only someone to supplicate to other than Allah. No. It's a whole system, as we explained. And it starts by a very simple step. Are you submitting to Allah or not? Because the one who submits to Allah, he's going to initiate his action according to the way of Allah. If he's knowledgeable and has, if for example he's a scientist, the knowledge that he, or the conclusion of the thesis that he came to, he's going to use it in helping people, not in making bombs. I mean, the nuclear, when they discovered it and everything, it has a great power to help a lot of humankind. But it would use it for different purposes. If it was in the beginning, the idea is to help when someone is submitting to Allah, it will benefit the whole humankind. That is shirk. So the shirk has different aspects. The shirk is to have the truth submitted to the whim of the people, not the truth as Allah said it. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran. He said it in Surah Al-Mu'minun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah Al-Believer, قال أفلم يدبروا القول أم جاءهم ما لم يأت آباءهم الأولين. Do they not ponder over the word of Allah, or has anything new come to them that did not come to their fathers? أم لم يعرفوا رسولهم فهم له منكرون. Or do they not recognize their messenger, that they deny him? Because the Prophet ﷺ lived 40 years among them, known by being the trustworthy, the truthful. Suddenly he became a magician and a liar. أَمْ يَقُولُونَ بِهِ جِنَّةٌ. Or they say that he is possessed. Nay, he has brought them the truth, but most of them hate the truth. That is the problem. It's not a question about the Prophet ﷺ. They hate the truth. Why they hate the truth? For one simple reason. Is here. Because the truth will not allow this purpose of life. And those who follow this purpose of life, they only think of themselves. So they have to hate the truth and find the truth to not allow anything like that. And this is an example. Because all the prophets, they've been rejected, all of them. Musa being rejected, Jesus being rejected. Why? Because those who call them, they hate what he brought them. Why they hate it? Because they're not going to be in position of power. The position of power is going to be in the hand of those who call them. But those who call them, they're not asking for a position of power. They're asking to, it's like them, it annoys them for anyone to think that they cannot be on the position of power. That's what the people of Quraysh, they said. They know God is the creator. They know it. And they know that their idols, they're not those who are providing them. Because Prophet ﷺ asked them, if you need provision, sustenance, who do you ask? You say, we ask the God in the heaven. Then why you are worshipping? He said, no, that's our ancestors. So when they talking among themselves, he said, Muhammad, he wants us to replace 360 gods by one God. It's not fair. But the God that we cannot see, why do you need God to see? Because the God that they can see, they can control. If, for example, he's standing and he wants to do evil, maybe he can put a cover on his head. He say, you cannot see me now. And the gods for Quraysh, it was, they have the copyright. So only the gods made by them who can be worshipped. So it was business. The gods, it was business, how they use it today. The gods, they were business. We went over the time, we didn't time. Okay, well, just inshallah, I will start.